Well, good evening. Hello, welcome everybody. Sorry, looking at the wrong. No, turn this down, turn this down. Oh my goodness, honestly, I I've faffed around so much. I thought I was completely prepared, but here we are. Happy New Year. This is the first time you see me this year live streaming. Of course, I'm Steffi from The Makers. If you don't know this yet, where have you been? And I'm streaming today here into the Everyone a Makers group on Facebook, but of course the video will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So if you're missing this, you can rewatch it anytime after that. And let's just see who is here and who is up for making one of these beautiful long-tailed tits. They are quite a popular British garden bird, and they are far from extinct. You see loads of them. There's a huge population in this country, but that's what we love. We don't like to talk about when there's less of them. And even though I've followed exactly the same instructions, the birds have got a slightly different pose, and it kind of just happens when you're needle felting. But I think that's the charm of it as well. And the more you make, the more authentic they look, because they usually are in large groups, hang about in large groups. So, right, let's have a look. So we have got a few of you are watching, a few of you are commenting. So Beth says, I don't have the box. I've got wool and the legs you sent me. Try to make the long-tailed tit with you. Well, there is actually something special about this particular bird, in that for the first time, I'm actually teaching you how to make the legs. And this is something that we are starting with first off. Because yes, we do sell bird legs, but you should also know how to make them. And I think they worked out quite well. So the box is still available if you want to buy it as a one-off purchase. It's absolutely packed full of stuff this month, because you are getting extra, not just the wool, and we've put a little handmade silk clay beak in there for you as well. You get the eyes, you get the wire to make the legs, you get your full set of instructions with the templates. You also get, on top of all of this, you get one of our glue pens, because you will need quite a lot of glue for the legs. And to top it all, you're getting an eco wool mat set. So this is a felting mat that hopefully will help you for future projects as well. Now, some of you have quite rightly said that you didn't get a felt piece in your kit. There is actually an awful lot of black wool in there, so you can almost make your own felt black felt sheet. However, if you're desperate for it, do get in touch and we'll just post this out to you. But most of you have managed without it, so I do apologize. It was my fault entirely, because it was nowhere written down. It was in my head, but that's no good to anybody. So but if you would like that felt sheet, if you can make do without, well done. Thank you very much for saving a little bit of a of carbon footprint in the world. But if you do want it, get in touch at info@themakers.co.uk. And this is of course only relating to those of you who've had the Makers box, whether this was the subscription or as a one-off, because I can see this bird becoming a kit, so that will be an entirely different content altogether. So who else is here in the house? You're all watching, but you're not commenting. That's quite all right. So you, as you can probably still hear it, I have actually had the flu over Christmas, and I'm still struggling a little bit to maintain the quality of my voice. So hopefully it will last until the end of this tutorial. I won't hang about, so I'll go straight into teaching you how to make the blue. We keep saying, oh my goodness, in our workshop, what we're calling this poor long-tailed tit. It's called a white tit, a blue tit, a something else tit. So it is a long-tailed tit. I don't know why on earth it's so hard to actually say it. Where I used to live a few years ago, we had an apple tree in our garden, and there was a whole colony of them. And it was absolutely delightful to watch them, because they do have these really long tails, and they have these sort of light pinkish colors. They're actually really super cute little birds. Okay, so let's go to the overhead camera. I can show you these a little closer up. So there's the there it is. Yeah, and we're going to start with what you've had in your kit in your box this month is the Equal Mat, the glue stick here, the instructions, got the wire, which we're going to use first, got some glue in eyes and a little bead, might be in the same envelope you're looking at. Then you've got the materials to make. So you've got core wool, which is the slightly larger amount. Got our Australian merino wool bats, got the New Zealand black, and you've got a brand new color that we don't actually think. And then what you also need is a pair of pliers. I like these long nosed pliers because you can cut wire, but then you can manipulate pointed. Yep. You need a pair of scissors, and I've got a glue pen here already open, so I might use that. They're identical, even though they look slightly different. Changed the package slightly. It is. So I'm going to put my instrument right for, and we'll need a tape measure because that wire that you've got there, which is a brown paper cover, we'll need to measure 4 centimeter. What I usually do is I cut one, looks about like this. Then I use that as a template. Double check. Not standing that I wrote them, but that for 4 centimeter length. So I'm going to use the hair cutters. Now I'm going to use my 4 centimeter, the template. Just cut. So I need 4 in total. Then you cut the rest of the wire, bend that into half. Now you should have what, 2 4 centimeter wire length, make one leg plus longer length. Then you've got another set here, longer length. These two are the set of your everything, but I'm doing, and I don't need letting my. So what I will suggest is have a damp cloth at the ready if it's not get up and hands, maybe some baby wipes just to wipe your fingers because you are going to. But the next thing you're going to do is you're going to bend. Let's start with one foot. You bend that 4 centimeter wire into half. This. Then they're going to you're going to hook them to each other like that. Got together here. Then you're going to and the easiest way to do that, I'm literally finishing them shut so that they are quite close to. So these are now interhooked. They're not by no means stable, but they are together. So it's almost like you've got X here now. And the next thing you're going to bend one of the longer wires. You bend this in by 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter. So you've got a little hook here at the end, and that hook you hook into the join stitch. Now going to have to wrap shorter end of that wire around the longer end. So this forms the leg. And again, if you use these little long nose pliers, they absolutely work like a. So I'm just pinching this shut now. So I've got my two legs here. Sorry, 2 feet here, 2 foot, 2 feet, not feet, toes, two toes pointing forward, two toes. Now I'm going to wrap shorter end of the wire around the long end of the wire, which is going to form the. So that will now that got a quite a tightly wrapped area here. And the next thing I'm going to do is going to bend the third toe forward. One of the toes at the back needs to come forward. Three toes facing forward, one toe facing backward. Cut that backward toe in off by half. So that is waste. I'll get rid of. So I have actually got now a foot that looks a little bit like this. And on mine, one of the toes is slightly shorter. So what I'll make the same length. What I suggest is make the second foot exactly the same so that you end up with this. We're not going to bend any more wire. It's now all ready for wrapping with wool. But I suggest make two of these first. So make your basic foot shape first. Yeah. So that you can make sure you've got the same length toes in case you need to cut them a little bit. Slightly more is it between foot and back. Also wrap the wire around each other so that got toes firmly trapped now. Now you're going to bend the toe forward, bending front, one bending to back. Back toe you can half. Then just check against the other foot. Make sure that you've got same length toes. So you want the toes to be the same. They have very dainty feet. Don't worry if shortening the toes a little more. Same side. So that's basically two basic feet prepared now. And I'm going to now show you how you're wrapping the wool to cover the first. So you have these colors here, black and the peachy pink. You're going to take a very small amount of the black and then you're going to take roughly the same amount of the pink. And do apologize if you are having problems with the sound. Connection stable here. I don't know why it does that. I'm just mine too was thinking perhaps. I do apologize. Is it still happening? I don't know. Does it happen more when I'm on this camera or does it happen on other camera? Don't know. So I do apologize. I don't really know what to do about this. So things seem at my end. Balance is right. Everything my end. Apologize. I hope slightly. anyway, just let me know how you're doing. So, yes, you are cutting out. Okay, can I have some feedback right this very minute if you can hear me okay? And is there a difference between the two settings? If you can hear me better if I'm looking at you this way, or if you can hear me better if I'm doing this overhead, that would be good to know. But yeah, you do. Anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to show you how to mix the wool. So you have these two colors overlaid. Then you're going to piece them apart, and I'm from the left to, or the right to the left. So it's basically sideways. I'm always overlaying it again, exactly the same direction, so that the wool gets slowly but surely so apparently it's the overhead camera where it cuts out. Let me just looks. Oh, I genuinely don't understand. So I do apologize if, whatever reason, things are. I don't know what I'm looking at. So this is like terrible. Good quality. Any of this. I have no idea what to do, basically. Look at these descriptions. I don't pick any of it, make it worse. So I'm going to persevere and hope that you're listening. So once you've got a nice mix, you're going to now take a tiny amount, and you're going to take your glue bottle. You're going to wrap every individual. Now that means that you have to bend the foot to get to it. Add glue to that toe. Then you're going to whirl around it. It sounds like the overhead camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change to another microphone, which might go hideously wrong and you might hear me even. So just bear with me, because I'm just going to have I'm just going to try another camera. So I'm going to count with my fingers, and you're going to tell me if you can hear this better or what. Don't know it's which one. So I do just bear with me. Okay, I'm going to try this one here. So I'm counting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be really good if you could tell me that if you can hear that better. So I'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you tell me if that is better? I'll just wait a minute because I know we do have a little. Okay, so Hannah says it's perfect. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to stay with that mic on the overhead camera, and then the front camera will be the other one that was okay. Okay, continuing. So I've covered that with a lot of glue, that wire. I'm wrapping the wool around it. Keep it really nice and thin. Sorry, sneeze. Got to sneeze. Yeah, sorry, got to sneeze. Nothing landed on my work here, so that's good. And then when you've got that wool wrapped around the toe, tighten it really tightly, and better still, you're going to add glue on top of it. So this is where I've been saying this is a messy affair, because you are, every time you wrap wool around one of the wire ends, you're going to have to twist it and wrap it, make it really tight, so that this is now absolutely rock solid, tight and wrapped around it. But keep it nice and thin. And of course your fingers get all glued up, and so if you don't like that bit, I don't really know what the alternative is. Then you dip another toe into the glue bottle, take more wool, make sure you bend the toes so that you can get to just that one to wrap the wool around it. You're basically leaving a tiny bit at the end for a toenail, and obviously building the wool up a little bit more towards the where the toes join. So add the wool. Again, don't overdo it. Keep it quite thin. Take some wool off if you need to. And then you're going to add more wool over the top. Really nice big layer of glue. And then just twist it so that the wool tightens up in itself, and it becomes really nice and flat. So that's toe number 2 on that leg. Now I'm going to do toe number 3. So bend that out of the way. In goes the toe into the bottle, so that you get a nice good grip to start with. A little bit more wool. So it's really tiny amounts of wool, and I hope that you don't find this affair too messy, but it is worth doing it that way to get a really neat little foot. And wrap the wool around it. Make sure you keep the wool flat like a ribbon, so don't allow it to twist in on itself. Glue on top, and as long as you twist it in the right direction as you wrapped it, it doesn't matter if it looks a little bit messy, it will just tighten itself down again. And then you have got toe number 3 wrapped. So now you're going to the tiny little toe at the back. That needs to go into the bottle as well. Take a little bit off. Ugh, yuck. It's just really messy. Bit of wool. So obviously this time you haven't got as much to wrap, but what you're going to do is you're going to wrap it around the toes. So try and get the toes back into the right position and begin winding the wool up the leg. So just a little bit up, and as before, you're going to have to cover that toe also with glue again. Get it nice and tight like that, and then also make the same happen with the leg. So just add glue onto the leg like this and wind it really tight. So what can happen now is that the toes are still a little bit wobbly, because you've not sort of joined them together properly. That means that you now have to do 2 things. You can use the wool to make the toes stay firmer. So use a little bit of wool. I told you it is a very messy affair. I absolutely don't like it, I will be honest, because the wool gets stuck to your finger, and yeah, it's just messy. So if you've got wobbly toes, try and join them a little bit firmer together by weaving in and out of the toes with very little amount of wool, and then just add lots more glue to it as well. So the whole idea is that the glue is not just to keep the wool in place, it's also to help firm up the feet and the toes. So make sure you just wind the wool nice and tight around it. And once you've done this, you're going to move on to the second leg. So keep the foot bent in the right position and leave it to dry. Just going to pop that over here. There, stay there. And then you're going to make the second foot exactly the same way. This one doesn't want to stay. I'm just going to pop the scissors on top. There, that'll do. Right, so second foot, we do exactly the same. Separate the toes out so you can dip them into the bottle. Use your tiny amount of wool. And they are very fiddly to do the feet. But just be patient and don't worry if you're wrapping the wool and you find that the wool's not staying in place. Just use the glue to really tie them on. And also the other thing is I have got glue all over my finger at the moment, which doesn't help. So do take the care and just wash it off and start with without sticky fingers. That will cause less frustration. But bird legs are notoriously hard to make, especially if you want them to look anything realistic. So it is worth the effort. I don't like it when you just wrap the wire and it looks wrapped, like it looks twisted, like twisted wire. It just looks so weird on a bird that maybe otherwise looks quite realistic. It's an absolute pet hate of mine. So I much rather make my own feet up if you can't use our bird legs. But of course we do have bird legs as well. So if you find that easier, then use those. And bird legs that we sell can also be wrapped in florist tape to give them a more realistic look. So a little bit more wool goes around there. We haven't even started on the bird yet. And get the toe. Gina says, evening from a damp Lincolnshire, but no snow inside. Oh, I think have we not got over the snow now? I mean, it was barely here. It came down with a vengeance and then it disappeared just as quickly. There's been actually terrible floods because of the snow melting so quickly and so much water coming down. So I hope you're all safe. And I think today it tried to snow again, but it didn't really stay. It's too warm at the moment. So I don't know if that's the end of the colder spell or if we get a little bit more. But yeah, we've definitely had a lot of damp and wet weather over the last few weeks. I'm definitely, for one, looking forward to some blue skies. And I don't care how cold it is. I just want it to be looking nice. So it feeds my soul. All this helps us to learn different techniques. Thank you, Jane. Yes, absolutely. So I want you to progress in your needle felting skills. So I'm hoping that this will help you. So there's 3 toes wrapped. Now the last one here at the back. And then I'm going to firm them up a little bit already by going around the ankle, some of the other toes. The neater you make them, the more dainty you make them, the more realistic they are. So you don't want great big sausages at the end of the foot. You want them to be nice and dainty, and it does make a difference to the appearance of I nearly said of the dog, of the bird. So do try and persevere. And I'm just going to add a little bit more wool around the ankle here. And then on the foot, and then I'm going to cover it with glue. And then that one is done as well. So putting the foot into a more natural position again. Right, lots of glue. This is why we've given you this glue bottle, because you will need it. It's better to be a bit more generous with the glue than not putting enough on there, because you just want the wool completely saturated with glue so that when it dries, it just becomes one very solid foot rather than fluffy little woolly toes. So don't worry about you can't put too much glue on there because it will dry. So I've got my second foot here now. There we go.
And I'm just going to put the scissors on there as well so it stays upright. I'm going to put the glue bottle on there, and I cannot wait to get the glue off my fingers. So I'm going to use a bit of a wet wipe here now to wipe it clear. And the glue is water-based, so it should just wash off. You don't have to use any chemicals to get it off. You should just be able to get it all off with a bit of water, a bit of all the glue here on my mat as well. And right, we're ready for the next bit. We're going to do a little bit of felting now. So you have in your pack or kit, you've got the slightly creamier wool, and we're going to go straight into making the bird now. And from that core wool, which is the larger and creamier amount, take off a good pinch, and it's about 1 gram. So 1 gram, I want to say it looks about like that. So just a small pinch. And then you take the remaining wool and flatten into a sheet of about 5 centimeter width, and as long as you can stretch it. Now, sometimes you have smaller parts that can come off. I'm just going to put that to one side for now. But in any case, you want that wool to be nice and stretched. And if more comes off, then just allow it to come off, lay it on top. And you want it to be 5 centimeter wide. So 5 centimeters is actually not very wide at all. It's only about here. So to make it slimmer, just stretch it by pulling it a little bit more. There. And then you're going to start winding the wool in from one end to the other, like this. So you are going to aim to make the basic body shape, which is on a, and that hasn't got the head attached. And you can actually, you can in theory already start felting into this, but if you prefer, just roll it all the way up, like this. And then you're going to close it up. You need to have your felting needle at the ready. You can use a fine felting needle. I've used a fine felting needle for the whole of the project, and that's our green topped felting needle. And just close the shape up so that you've got like a little fluffy sausage here now. Now, just to show you the template that we're referring to is this here. It's this little weird looking half circle, and this is what that needs to fit. So this is what you're aiming for now. Now, wherever you stab the needle is where the reduction takes place. So first off, and I'm already imagining that I'm going to make this round here and flat there. So I'm already stabbing my needle in that exact direction of where I want the shaping to take place. So I'm going in a curved line around the base, and do this on the other side as well. What that achieves, it shortens the shape, which it needs to shorten, and at the same time it also curves it a little around where the tummy is going to be. And then stab it all over a little bit more. So take your time now to sculpt your shape. Don't rush this part, because you want a nice little firm body here. And I'm holding on to the part that I actually, because I want to curve this, I'm actually felting quite deep into the shape, but at the same time I'm curving it like almost like a little cross-on. So visualize the shape that you want to make, and then hold it against the template and then work some more on it. To maintain the 3D-ness of it, you have to keep moving it, obviously. So don't just felt flat into it, because you will end up with a flat shape. Whilst the template is obviously 2D, so you can't see that you're actually making a curved shape, you do need to maintain the 3D-ness. So it's still a little bit long. So you can see there's my shape, and this is what it needs to be. So all of this here I need to shorten. So I'm going to really step quite hard into the curve here again to make the reduction happen. And I'm using my my fine felting needle. And then I'm going to stab the end in a bit. And you can see where you need to felt the wool down if it's still sticking out and fluffy. This is not the finished surface altogether. We're covering every single bit of it with other wool, but we do want a nice firm shape. So let's make that body nice and firm and nice and small. Stick to the template because these birds are dainty and tiny, and having made the legs, you want it all to be in proportion going forward. So again, I'm going to hold it against my template now and see if it's got any smaller. And it has definitely got smaller, but it can do with a little bit more shrinking. So Jane says she likes the more realistic approach to needle felting. Yeah, I do as well. I will be honest. I find it hard to make more stylized things. Sometimes there is a time and a place, but I prefer making it a bit more realistic. And do keep chatting away because I can dip in and out here of what you guys are talking about. Okay, nearly. I did do the live stream on the 30th of December. For those of you who are a flock member, obviously we meet once a month, and this is a week later now, and I am still trying to recover. I've had this flu bug now since Christmas Day, and it's just taking absolutely ages to leave me alone and for me to get fully better. So I am still taking it quite easy. I am going for walks because it's important to get the fresh air. I keep thinking I haven't been back to the gym yet. I'm just going to have to take another day or so to try and get over it. Right, there's my little shape now. It's completely transformed from what it was before. So this one looks very flat at the top, and of course that is achieved by just felting these two ends down a little bit. And then you're taking your pinch that you put to one side before, and you're repeating the same thing what you did earlier by rolling this into a shape, but this time you're going much smaller because you're making the head. And so tease your shape now. What are the measurements? Aim for a short little oval shape of 3 to 4 centimeters long, which basically means wide. Once it's rolled up, you mean wide. So I'm just going to roll this in, same as I did with the body, secure it, and then I've got look at my template here again, which is the head. Oops, you can't see there. And now I'm going to try and make that fit the head. So there's a lot of felting into the short ends. Mind your fingers when you're doing this to make it into a little round shape. Now the birds, when I've designed them, I on purpose had the head slightly turned, which is actually a little bit more complicated than having them look straight out, because the proportions of the head and the body can sometimes look a little bit distorted. So if you prefer to have the head facing forward, you will have to make a decision about this soon, but not just yet. First of all, we need to attach this little blob that I've just made to the head. And to do this, you just place it onto one of the ends of the body, and you stab into the round bobble here, the round shape, and the body at the same time. And this is just so that we can tack it on and we can continue doing something else entirely in a minute. So just get it fastened on very briefly, so that it looks like the template. I'll show you that in a minute. It's literally just felted on the end of the body here. And so if you look at the template now, I'm quite happy with that. That looks quite good. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the whiter wool, which is the main wool that will be visible on the outside, and you're going to, let's see, which step am I at? You're going at step 28 now. So you take a small amount of the white wool, not the core, and don't use any more than half. So just maybe under half. There. And you're going to now tease this into a sheet. If it comes off like this, take it off, lay it on top again, tease it into a sheet, because what you're doing now is you're going to connect the head to the body, and you're going to cover as much as you can now with the white wool, but you don't want the head to pop out. So make sure that you are smoothing that over the bird, and start stabbing into the layers that are covering the head. But notice how I'm going in at a shallow angle. Can you see that? So I'm not going straight into it, because I will just make that neck line so prominent again that it looks like the head's not properly attached. I'm actually going along the head and felting the wool down, and then as I'm doing this, I'm actually going along the whole of the bird, and I'm attaching that sheet bit by bit, so that I'm doing two things here at the same time. I'm attaching the head. I'm also covering most of the bird in that white now, in that new white, in that slightly brighter white. Nice soft white. Felt it down. And take your time. I'm still working with my fine needle, because I want to, this is quite delicate work. So there's a lot of work done in the detail, in felting this down thoroughly. This is not a quick, few steps job done job. This is actually somewhere where you take your time and you're really following the shape of the bird. And notice also that I'm stabbing in harmony with how you imagine the feathers would run. I'm not saying the whole bird needs to be covered in white, but cover as much as you possibly can by spreading the wool out. We are covering everything else again, so it's not like this is important that there's no cream wool visible. It doesn't matter. But you are getting now, the bird shape looks a lot more like the full bird template. So you've got more of a continuous shape that where the head is actually joined to the body, and felt it down. Make sure that you haven't got a huge amount of air between the two shapes. So just felt it down, but do it so that you're stabbing the needle at a shallow angle from the two shapes, along the two shapes, and felt the layer on top. You can feel it if you've got air there. So just add, can you see how I'm going at a really shallow angle, always in that same direction? So I'm not going at a right angle into the shape, because I want to really emphasize that this is one shape rather than separating it by going straight into it. So once all of the wool has been felted down, we're going to the next step. And fairly early on, as in now, we're actually going to add the face and the eyes and beak to it. That's not something that I usually do that early on, but especially with this project where the head is facing to the side, it helps to maintain the shape and keep the perspective going. So what you're doing next is you're going to put the eye sockets in, which means because the bird is facing slightly forward, one goes quite close to the neck, and the other one goes here. So this will feel weird, because you've basically got one eye socket here and one eye socket there, but it is because the bird's head is slightly facing towards you. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about the precise position of where you put the eyes, because if the bird is facing more towards you, it will look more like this. If the bird is facing slightly less towards you, it will look more like this. In any case, the birds are still looking slightly to one side. And once you've done that, you're going to use your felting needle. So one eye socket here and one eye socket there. You're going to use your felting needle, and you are already inserting you're inserting the beak first. So the beak sits bang on in the middle between the eyes. So insert your felting needle exactly where the beak would be. So there's the eye, and there's the eye, and there's going to be the beak. And then get your beak out of the parcel. They have really stubby little beaks, so we've made them a little bit more stubby than normal. Once you've poked a hole in there, pull your needle out, and you should see there is actually a hole visible. Put the beak in it, there. And then just use your glue to add a dab of glue behind the beak, so that you can just squirt a bit of glue behind it. Don't worry if you overspill a little. Push the beak in so that it's in the right position. And you might have to turn it a bit, so whichever way that it looks the most natural. There's the beak in there now. And then you're going to repeat this for the eyes. So you're going to pop your needle into one eye socket first. Mind where it comes out. Make sure you go all the way in so that you've got a nice big hole here. So there's one eye. Just get my eyes out of the pack here. Then pop one eye in. And then repeat on the other side. So don't glue the eye in yet. Repeat first on the other side. So that when you actually look at your bird, you want to make sure that they are in the right position. The eyes are in the right position. So when you look at it, you want them to look the same distance away from the beak. You want them to be level, and they need to look like they are in the right place. So once you've done this, then add a dab of glue behind each eye, each side there. So at the moment you've got a little white bird looking at you, turning its head a little bit. And once you've done this, we're going to start giving the bird some facial features. And for this, there's a lot of wool mixing happening in this project. So take a tiny amount of black and a tiny amount of the softer white, the surface white that we've just been using. And then remember also that each bird has got its own markings. So even when you look at pictures of long-tailed tits, you might find that if you look very close up, they all are slightly different. And that is because that's nature. It just happens like that. Okay, so I've mixed a little bit, and now I'm going to lay a small amount of the mix over the eye, and I'm going to start felting it down. So this is quite light, but it looks like why would you felt it over the eye? You are basically just covering the side of the head, but it's easier to actually felt so as if you're covering the eye, and just allow the needle to free up the eye as you're stabbing into it again. So you're just covering the side of the head and allow the needle to make the eye pop out again. That's the easiest way to cover the side of the head. Just going to take a little bit off. And it doesn't matter whatever pattern you are making here right now. The main thing is that you repeat that pattern on the other side. So I've covered the side of the head here now, and now I've got to try and make a very similar pattern on the other side. The challenge is that the head is not facing forward, so you have to keep looking at the bird from all directions. So felt this down and get the eye to pop out. and still using the fine needle. I have only used the fine needle and felt the wool down. Nice. It's so much easier to use little amounts of wool because you don't have to fight the wool that you're putting down. So don't overdo it. Stick with little amounts of wool and keep looking at the other side so that you can see how big that patch needs to be. And we're doing lots and lots of work on this bird still. So this is what it looks like now on my bird. Look at the front, make sure that this line here is actually same level going across. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the eye lid. Now you need a tiny amount of the peachy pink, and I'm taking 2 similar amounts, and I'm going to twist them into a strand. And I'm going to just add it on top of the eye. So I start in the corner of an eye, the outside in this case. And all I'm going to do is just felt this very gently onto the top of the eye. If it's a little bit long, just cut it off, and rather than pulling it, because you're just going to pull the whole lot off. And go to the other corner of the eye and then just allow a little bit of that pink to show on top of the eye like that. I'm going to repeat that straight away on the other side. So twist it into a little strand. And this time I'm starting on the inside of the eye. This just seems to be the natural way to go from right to left, and felt that down as well. So we're just cut. It's almost like they've got a tiny little pink eyelid, but it's also a bit of a marking at the same time. So make sure you don't felt it down too much. You don't want it to sink in too much. You want it to also be part of the top of the eye. So on both sides, and then you repeat that same process with a little bit of white. So use a tiny amount of white and pop that under the eye now instead of on top of the eye. So again, start in one corner and work your way around. Now, some birds have got more of a distinct white and pink line, some have less. This is where your birds will differ, but they also differ in nature. So don't give yourself too much of a hard time if you think that you have put too little or too much on there. So there's the little. And with a fine needle, you have a lot of control to reduce that anyway. So now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to add a little bit more black on top of the eye and the side of the head. So this is almost like a very bushy eyebrow going on top here. And again, use small amounts of wool and make sure that the stripe, the white stripe that goes between the two black, the next bit I'm adding in a minute, but make sure that the line here, that there is the white line in the center is symmetrical. So when you add the second black eyebrow, so to speak, make sure that you have a nice symmetrical line between the two black eyebrows, so to speak, on top of the head that is central to the beak. So this is it's important that you get the symmetry at this point, otherwise it might look a bit wonky. So my beak here needs to be in the middle of that white center part here. And then the next part is less delicate work, because you're going to mix the peachy pink with the white. And make a really fluffy, I love this so much. When you look at the birds and they fluff their feathers up, they actually have a lot of this sort of pinkish, white pinkish feather feature. So mix it. You don't need to mix it too well, but you're going to start coloring in the bird in now from the back and you're felting the wool down as you imagine the feathers will run. We're starting at the back. Don't worry too much about the sides because we're covering that with a wing, and work your way around the bird. If you leave that nice and soft and so, yeah, just leave it almost like candy floss, looking like candy floss. It looks like the bird has got really warm and soft little feathers. So you don't need to felt this down very much, but you're working your way forward. I'm just going to cover the back part here. And then you work your way all the way forward, but you're going all the way across the chest, but you're not covering the base of the head. So felt that wool down. And we're starting at the back so that the layer that's going forward overlays the layer at the back as real feathers would as well. And you can take more time doing this if you want it to be a little bit more precise, but I think that the softness and the fluffiness of that actually adds quite a bit to the charm of the bird. So I'm felting this down really softly. It's very fine wool, so you don't get you don't have like lumps and bumps in there. The wool actually, just by its sheer nature, looks quite feathery and downy. So there we go. And you can still make the bird smaller by stabbing a little bit deeper into the wool, if you wish. And the last little layer there. Like I say, lots of mixing. You have plenty of wool there. If you use if you use core wool of your own sources, then you can probably make another couple of birds out of the wool that we've supplied in the kit. So we're always generous. We try. We don't want you to run out of wool, but with the core wool, we have done pretty much what you need because we don't want you to end up with a ginormous bird in case you get carried away using a little bit more. But certainly the surface wool, you can use a little bit more for other birds, and it doesn't matter so much if you use a bit more, as long as you're not building huge amounts of bulk. So felting this down here now, and then you're going to use a little bit of the white and black mix. So you might have to make a new mix here. So we're literally mixing all the wools and all possibilities, and we're going to add a little, almost like a little bib, a little grey bib. And the way to do this is you're laying this onto the chest. So make sure the chest is this part here, not this part where the head is facing. You have the head is facing slightly to one side. So you're going to felt this down like that. And you can go up to the neck with this. Notice that I'm leaving this unfelted here. This bit here is staying loose. Just need to add a little bit more. It's very, very hard to maintain the symmetry because you automatically think that the head is part of the symmetry, and it definitely isn't. So felt that down on the chest, keeping the wispy bits sticking up, because what you're going to do next is you're going to cut them. You're going to cut the wispy bits, and that looks like you've got sort of a feathery cover here. That's almost a little bit dark. Don't like it so dark. Pull a bit off, or put a bit on here to maintain the symmetry. And then, so keep that wispy, like it's a layer of feathers. And then you're going to repeat this with white. So you're going to use a white cover now. And that's going on top of the black. But you want to obviously not cover that, that neat little cut that you've just made. So again, you're felting the wool down with a little bit of extra sticking up. Felt it down all the way up to the neck. And then you're going to cut that white wool exactly the same way as you did with the black, but I'm just going to add a little bit more here on the side. So make sure you have that extra bit of wool sticking out, because you're going to cut that off now as well for another little bit, but this time it's a white layer of feathers. So if you ever need to make this wispy, use your felting needle and just brush it or comb it with your felting needle. So you've got a little bit of a grey feathery bib here covered with a little bit of white going over the top. So just stroke the wool out a bit to make it melt in a little bit more. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going straight to the wings. Now, if you haven't got this felt piece, make yourself a flat felt piece from the black wool. I've seen that it works. Don't get frustrated because you don't want to wait for something. Just make it without it. And the way that I have measured my wings, I literally cut it to one length, and then I'm cutting it freestyle. And I'm being I don't cut very generously, but I cut it so that I can. You can also cut this template out and then do it, obviously. But I just like to wing it for the wing. So, and then make this nice and round. Once you've got one done, you can use that one for a template for the second one. So I'm just shorten the length a little bit. I'm quite happy with that. And then use that one, lay it on top of this one here, and just cut it round the shape. Sorry, you probably can't see this very well because it's black on black. I mean, it's hard for me to see it, and I'm got it right in front of me. So have two wings. Make the two wings straight away so you've got the shape ready. And then you're going to color in the wings. First off, we're going to do the same principle what we've just done. Use some white wool. I always sort of like to line up the fibers because we need to get a feathery edge again. Lay it on top of the wing and then just felt it down, but stay away from the very wispy edge of that white wool. Don't worry about this wool spilling out over the edge at the top because we do need to fasten the wing onto the bird in a minute. So that actually works as well. And allow a little bit of the black tip of the wing to be visible. So don't cover all of the top. Like that. And then you're going to neaten the edge again as you did before. So get your scissors in there and cut the wool. Use your felting needle to make these wispy ends a little bit wispier, like this. And then you're going to use the white and pink mix, and you got to give it another layer. So this is exactly what you did with the chest, but this time you're putting it on the wing. So again, leave a little bit of the wing visible white underneath because you're now going to cut the pink as well. So I'm trying to get through this project quite speedily. Please do take your time. You don't need to follow my example here. And just add a few wispy bits to top there. So they can be less pink, they can be a bit white. Whatever you do, make sure you make a right and a left wing. So you do need to make sure that they are as symmetrical as possible. I know it looks very wispy here, but I'm going to put the wing onto the bird in a minute. So it is, it's quite good to have that there. Add the white first. And then cut the line. Make sure you have the wingtip visible. Like this. And then add a little bit of the pink on top. Actually, that's what I've just cut. I wouldn't suggest, don't use the wool that you've cut because it's too short in fiber already. So make sure you use a little bit of extra wool. And this can be made so much neater if you can just take a little bit of time. You can actually make this a lot more of a neater job. So I do apologize, I'm rushing a little bit because it's going to be a long tutorial otherwise. So here we go. Top of the wing. Also take a little bit of that wool off on both of them. So make sure you've got two wings that look roughly the same there, like these two. And then you're going to attach these now to the bird. So the idea is that the tail, when it's attached, because it's quite long, so it will be an extension here, is that the tail and the wingtip will face in the same direction. So bear that in mind when you're felting the wing down. So just get the wing felted on top of the bird. So felt the excess wool that you've left there into the bird. You can also felt into the wing itself. Just make sure that you don't destroy these feathery lines that you've worked hard to get. And then you do the same on the other side. Again, it's really easy to lose the perspective of it. So make sure when you attach the wing, ignore the head, just look at the body and make sure that the wings are facing in the right direction according to the body rather than the head. Felt that down. And I'm gonna probably have to add a little bit of wool here on the front of the wing. It's a little bit like it's too see-through with the black there, so just add a little bit to cover that up. And looking at the bird, so make sure the wings are the same. So look at the top, look at the side, look at the front, look at the back, making sure that the middle of the body, if you take the head away, is actually here. So the tail will be attached there, but if you have the head in it, it suddenly looks a little bit out of proportion. But don't be deceived by that. It's the head that's confusing you, not the body. The body is what you go by when you look at the wings. The wings need to be symmetrical to the body. And then, as you did with the wing, you're going to cut the tail. So the tail is as long as this. So I'm going to cut my felt sheet. And what you can do with this is you can actually just get one side cut right. Ugh, so messy. So get one side cut according to the template, because you can then fold it in half and get the other side cut. So I'm just doing one side. That looks about right. Not as curved there. So what you do now is you just fold this in half and cut the tail out accordingly. And then just, I find that the easiest is just to sculpt it by looking at the template and just cut bits away. Don't get too carried away, obviously. And get a bit thinner there. So do it bit by bit, but I'm quite happy with this. It's probably a little bit long. We do want the tail to be long, but we don't want it to be too long because it won't hold its shape. If it will just flop. Though I do have some hints and tips on that as well. The danger is always you keep cutting and then suddenly you've cut too much. This is good. Right. So now we need to fasten the tail to the long-tailed tit, but we need to add feathers to it first, like we have done with the wings. So we want the sides of the tail to be covered in white, so that it's like it will be a continuous white color. And so I'm felting the wool half overlapping the tail down. And then I'm going to take it off the mat, and I fold it over the other side it's like a hem, and felt it down on that side so that I get a white edge. And I want that to be nice and thin. I want it to be too thick. So make sure that you felt that nice and thin. Don't put too much wool on there. You will also find that you're pushing black fibers from the felt back out. So do this on both sides to get the edge covered. And again, work in symmetry. So make sure that they both look the same. And what's coming in a minute is, in case you haven't got an edging tool, you can manage this too, but with an edging tool, it does work. Treat. So just, I didn't mention that at the beginning, that an edging tool might be quite useful. But if you do have an edging tool, then use that. So just felt the wool down. So you're doing this from both sides, making sure that you're not completely covering up that black, because we do want to see that. But if it's more covered up on one side than on the other, then you're using the side where it's less covered up on the top of the tail. So, and this is why, especially with the tail and the wing, your own black felt sheet will work if you needle felt the wool into a flat sheet. So with the edging tool, where have I put those now? Oh, okay, they're somewhere here. I just have to grab them. With the edging tool, it's so much easier to get that edge nice and neat again. Here we are. I've just got that one here. I think this might be the one that was in our Advent calendar. So use your felting needle and just neaten up that edge, the white edge. Don't stab too deep into it, because you are just pushing more of the white wool into the actual center of the tail. It's just to defluff it a bit. And the other side. And like I said, check in a minute which part of the tail, the top or the bottom, has got most of the black left. You can still, even when you do this, you can still push more of the white out again. If all fails, you can add a bit more black onto it, which is actually what I'm going to do, because that also adds a bit of strength to the tail. So if need be, add a little bit of black back into the tail. And I'm going to make that the top of the tail, I've decided now. That. And you're now going to fasten that onto the top of the, don't worry too much that you're covering this now on top of it. We are covering more of the top of that part. Just get it felted down for now. And you can felt straight into the felt sheet because it's basically wool. So it will, fibers will get pushed through. Now the position of the tail needs to be so that the tail wing, the wing will be in direction of the tail. So that is the position of the tail. And you can also felt it from the back a little bit. And then use a lighter gray mix to add over the top. So a little bit more of the white and a little bit less of the black. Mix it and make sure that you cover that join up again, so that that's not visible. And you will go up a little bit between the shoulders as well with this. So start with a small amount. Start by the tail, base, and remember to stay symmetrical to the body rather than the head at the moment. Let that down. Now what also works really well is if you want your bird to be really neat and even, you can actually use some scissors and just trim the fuzz off. Do that too. So I'm just going to go a little bit further down the tail so it's kind of fizzing out into the tail, and that join is definitely covered. And if you want to, you can add a little bit more gray here on the neck. Look at a long-tailed tit on a photo, bearing in mind that they always look slightly different in different lights. I'm just going to make this a little bit shorter, the tail, the body, which you can still do even now. You can still tweak bits and pieces, obviously. There's a lot of white has gone off here somehow, so I'm gonna add a little bit more to the wing here. Might even cut it shorter again. Don't know yet. And just work on it. Look at it from all directions and just add bits and pieces where you think they might be missing. And each one will look different. It just can't be helped. It just happens. So you can cover a little bit more of the back of the head here, but do leave that white stripe in the center of the eyebrows, so to speak. And some of them have got more gray. Some of them, they are much whiter. Maybe it also depends whether they're female or male, or whether they're juveniles, or what time of the year it is, I suppose. So birds change their feathers according to the seasons. So that's it, really. However, the legs is the next thing. And obviously, they are quite long. Now, they're not quite dry yet, but I will show you how to fasten them on. So the bird legs, the knees are bent backwards. So you do need to bend the leg in like this. This is obviously too long, this wire. But make both of the legs the same. So you have a bent in knee here. And once you've done that, cut the wire short because it needs to be stuck into the bird. So you don't want the wire to be too long so it can't go into the bird. Oh, not really on the cutting edge. Here we go. And in the same way as the leg is bent, you need to make the hole for the leg. So use your, God, such a messy worker. Use your felting needle again, and it is really quite back quite at the back of the bird. So the center of gravity is quite here at the back. So I'm going in that direction because that is where how the legs are pointing. So I'm going to insert the wire here. Into the bird. That's one leg. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, going forward as well. And popping the other leg in there. So you want the leg to be, the wire itself goes in quite a long way. And push the legs in. Then you're going to stand your bird up in the position that you know it will stay, like so. Add a dab of glue into the hole where the legs are, very generous dab of glue. And then you're going to leave your bird be. I know it's going to be hard, but leave your bird be. Stand it up. I'll show you this on the main screen now.
So I've inserted the legs here, and now I'm going to leave the bird standing with these legs. I've added a dab of glue. I'm standing the bird up. If need be, put a pair of scissors on the toes again. Bend it into place so that it will actually stand unaided. But you might have to just put a pair of scissors there because they're a bit wobbly. Leave it. And then when you're done, all you're going to do is add a few bloomers, a few fuzzy, wispy fibers for bloomers there, so that the joint of the leg itself is covered up. And that basically completes the bird altogether. But obviously I can't wait for the glue to dry. So I'm going to let you have a look at this little bird. So different from all the others, because that's just how it works. You make a project, you make it again, it looks slightly different. You make it again, it looks slightly different. But the nice thing is that I have now got 3 long-tailed tits, and they come in big groups, and the more you make, the merrier. And I think they're just such delightful creatures. So obviously you can, oh yes, I was going to give you a tip on how to make the tail nice and stiff. So if you wanted to, you could add the glue onto the tail the same way as you added it to the feet. So you just basically cover it completely in glue. I have done this with one, yes, this one here. This is really, really stiff, this tail, because I've just added loads of glue underneath. You can probably see it looks quite shiny. And just leave it to dry. So obviously just cover it from one side, but it will stiffen the felt sheet. And I think I might have to use a hard surface to leave my bird's legs to dry, because on the felt it doesn't work too well. But once the legs are secure, you can then position the bird so that it holds its balance. As long as you've bent the legs forward so that the knees are pointing back, it will eventually, you will be able to balance it. And that's all from me today. I just want to have a quick look if there are any people having any questions. Oh, so many people have actually been here that I didn't spot. Anne says, Steffi, do you have any plans to do a nuthatch? So a nuthatch is such a beautiful bird. I absolutely love them. I haven't got any immediate plans, but I would love to make more birds. I absolutely love birds. Jane says that would be lovely. Gina says, I've also had the bug since Christmas Eve and only just starting to feel a bit better. Today was the first day I actually tasted the food I ate. Oh, bless you, Gina. I just cannot shake it. It's in my chest and on my voice, as you can hear. Sharon says, same here, Steffi. I've had this virus since Christmas Eve and still feeling very tired. Anne says, read the ongoing saga of the Christmas bug. I've still got problems with my ears. They're a good excuse to ignore people pretending that you can't hear them. Excellent. Jane says, my friend's husband was in hospital the week before Christmas with flu, came home day before New Year's Day and is still struggling to get rid of it. It does leave people lacking in energy and tired. Rest when you can, Steffi. And Diane says, I've lost some hearing from my left ear and consultant thinks it may be permanent loss. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Diane. Laura says, just got Bluetooth hearing aids. They are amazing, but really odd. I left the computer to get a drink and I could hear Steffi's voice directly play into my ears. They're a real game changer. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Diane says, I'm so sorry. If you get a chance to try Bluetooth hearing aids, do. The analog were useless, says Laura. Anne says, sound has been perfect since you did whatever you did. Yes, whatever I did. I don't understand this technology. Angie says, hello everyone. Just finished work and can enjoy some Steffi time. Oh, thank you. And Diane says, looking just like the real bird. Oh, thank you. The face on speaker is now hard to hear. Okay, right. It's a time to stop, isn't it? Beautiful little bird. Sound gone very low now. Oh, I do apologize. So we're back to square one. Thank you so much for this tutorial. You need to go and rest, both you and your voice. I will. And Sharon says, thank you, Steffi. You really must rest up now. Karen says, thank you so much for showing us how to do this. I am looking forward to making it now. I've got my subs box out ready. Take good care of yourself. Have a lovely hot drink and relax. Thank you very much, everybody. Just very quickly, the makers boxes for January, which makes a spaniel portrait. Whether you want to make a Springer, a Cocker, whether you want to make a one in 2 colors, in 3 colors, or a single color, we've got you covered. And best of all, the new thing is, I don't know if you can see it, but we've got little noses that will be in your pack. Don't know if the camera is actually just blurring it, but anyway, they're really, really cute little noses. I love the noses so much. And just bear with us. I am working as fast as I can. I am doing it. So the boxes will be on their way hopefully by the end of this week, but I've promised things before and then it didn't happen. So don't hold it against me. I know you are very forgiving and I love you for it. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Take care, everybody. Put my lid on the glue before it dries out. And I do apologize if there have been problems with the sound. So bye-bye, everybody. Lots of love. See you soon.